Okay, good morning. So we're up to Shin Chof Ches Seif Chof Tes. Misha Nikva Yodo Ragle. Someone who knocks his hand or his foot. Soim Sobiyayin. So the Gemara says in Shabbos Kuf Tes, he wants to reduce its swelling. So the way it was in those days that you would immerse it in wine, and that somehow would reduce the swelling. So says the Mechaber, Misha Nikva Yodo Ragle. He knocks his hand or his foot. Soim Sobiyayin. He can reduce the swelling and sort of contain things by soaking it in wine. But not in vinegar. Because the vinegar is strong, and it has healing aspects, and therefore that you can't do that on Shabbos. If the person is a very delicate person, then wine has got a din of refuah like chometz, and therefore it's not allowed. Okay, says the Mishnah Berurah Tzadi Aleph Shenigva Shenichshel Velok. So let's say he fell over and he knocked and he bruised himself. Umayri Shelo Hayo Al Yedei Barzel, not through some metal implement. V'gam Shelo Nigfu Hayad Varegel Al Gabon, not that he knocked onto the metal or something. Ti'ilu Nogfu Al Gabon Shehoya Hakor Al Yedei Barzel. That would be more serious, and therefore there's more things he would be able to do. He can be Mechal Shabbos for that. But not to soak this bruised, knocked hand or foot in vinegar. For Kolshkem B'yayin Sraf, which is like a sort of liquor. But if he is mu'unug, then you can't soak it even in wine. She'or b'sor rach, if his skin is very soft. V'chol davar shu chazak ksas kosher b'sor v'tzemes rapeh, and things which are hard, i.e. Vinegar and things like that, it will be merapeh, and therefore you can't do that on Shabbos. Okay, lamet. Misha nishmet perek yodoy eiragle b'mkomer. A person, Rachon has had a sort of dislocation, his joint has come out of place. Lo yishaf shefena harbe betzoinen. Don't rub it too much in cold. Shezel refuasa, because that's the treatment for it. El reichitz kedarkoi in nisrapa. You can just wash normally, and if it cures, it cures. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sali Daled, Misha nishmet dahainu sheyotzo ha'etzim perek sheloi, comes out of the socket or something. V'ayin lekamon b'sif memzayim b'kamash nichtav sham Mishnah Berurah. Okay, Mishnah will get there. Lamed Aleph. Tziporin shepersha, a nail which becomes detached, v'tzitzin, and like I think sort of bits, cuticles, sort of strands of skin, shein kaminrut sues dakas, thin strands of skin, shepersha me'er ha'etz b'sov ha'tziporin, which sort of come detached a little bit from around the nail. Im pershu ruba. Now, so in the nail, if the majority of the nail becomes detached, klape malo, towards the top, a matzaros or so, and it distresses him, la siron biyad muta. You're allowed to remove it, but not with a kli, but biyad, with your just sort of with the other hand or something. Bekli pata aval asa. But to do it with the kli, it's also midrabanan. Lo pershuruban, but if only a little bit of the nail has become detached, then it's more problematic. Biyad pata aval asa, to do it with your hand, is also midrabanan. Bekli chayv chatos. Now, this is the problem. We don't know exactly what it means the nails become detached. Which way is it? From sort of away from the finger, from the hand, or closer to it? That, says the Mechaber, is machlikus. Or Pirish Rashi, klapi mala, klapi roshi espa, so facing the sort of the heads of the fingers. For Rabbeinu Tam Pirish, dainu klapi haguf, facing the body. So we don't know exactly the metzias of what it's machlikus, what it means of tziper and shapirsha. And therefore, says the Mechaber, tzorich lochush l'shnei ha'perushim, we have to be choishish for both. So let's see what that means. Says Mishnah Berurah Sadi Hey, pirshu rubon, but tziperin hainu rov tziperin, the majority of a nail becomes detached, of it sits in kosev primogodim, and when it regards to the sort of the cuticle, the cuticles, the fleshy parts of the skin around the nail, ein yadeh rov me'ayin maschel, with the nail, it's very demarcated, it's very clear, but for the tzitzin it's not so clear, says the Prima Godim. Maybe it's where it's from the where people generally move the skin around the nail. That's where you treat it, the beginning and the end of it. If the majority of that becomes detached, katolish dami, it's considered katolish. Now, lasiron biyad is mutter. So if pirshay rubon, so he says, then you can do it biyad. To kivin shapir shu rubon, craven inotik, It's as if they're detached already, and therefore we treat it as if it's gone. Hilkach b'makom tzara legoz rabbanon, and therefore to remove the rest fully by your hand is a drabanon, and therefore b'makom tzara legoz rabbanon k'shir masir alidei shinu dahanu biyadei. V'tzorich lizaheh shelo yetzi dam. Just make sure that you don't no bleeding occurs. Low pirshuruban, if it's not the majority is not detached, then or who adin dafilu low pirshu klal. Parts of biyads, and certainly if it's not detached at all, then cutting nails or biting nails with your hand, or either with your mouth, which is also a shinui, or to do it with another hand, is also midrabanon. Because that's not the normal way of doing it. Because the normal way of doing it is with a metal instrument, with clippers or something. That if it's not majority has been detached, but only a minority or none at all, then just biting your nails on Shabbos is a problem. It's also midrabanan. And for those who bite nails, it's an addiction, really, and one has to train yourself during the week to try and avoid biting nails, because you see people they can't hold back on Shabbos. I remember hearing, I can't remember who it was, but the training yourself during the week is a key of Zachas Yom HaShabbos. If you don't bite your nails on Sunday, that can be a key of Zachas Yom HaShabbos, so that you don't come to do it on Shabbos. But if you do it with a nail clip or something, then Chayev Chatzos. Who told it to Geizes? What is the problem with biting nails, with cutting nails on Shabbos? Because removing nails, cutting nails on Shabbos is a tolda of Geizes, which is shearing. And therefore, we've got, again, to summarize, we've got a machlekas whether or not you can remove a detached nail on Shabbos. If the majority has become detached, then we consider it as if it's already detached, and therefore, biyad, it would be mutter to remove it. Kli, it would be also midrabanon. And if it's only minority detached, then biyad is also midrabanon, and bekli it's also midaraisa. And certainly, if it's not detached at all, that the same would be true. However, the difficulty here is machlokes Rashi Tosfos, where you define detached from. Is it from the top of the nail or is it the bottom? Where is it connected, at the top or at the bottom? Machlokes Rashi Tosfos. Says the Mechava, we've got to be choshish for both perushim. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sadites, v'lochein afilu pirshu ruban also litlan afilu biyad, because we don't know what the definition is, and therefore we've got to be choshish that this is not the ruban that the Mechaba is referring, the Gemara, the Mechaba is talking about, because according to Rashi, maybe it's the other way, and therefore it's not properly detached. So the bottom line is, don't bite your nails, don't cut your nails, and
Sorry, I didn't quite understand. What does it mean at the top?
You've got a little part of the nail is still attached to your body, but is it attached to the top or is it attached to the bottom of the nail? In other words, imagine you've got your finger here. It's half off, exactly, but is it attached to the top or attached to the bottom? It's Machlokes Rashi Tosfos. Says the Mechaba, you've got to be choshish for both.
We're talking here about our nails.
Yeah, absolutely. The majority of the nail, if it's a little bit of the, which is, I see it. You're saying across the width of the nail.
Yeah. The which width?
No, I see. I understood it's talking about the actual nails come off, the whole nail come off. Yeah. If it's a little bit, so then that's a minority, and if it's causing you distress, then biyad, that would be okay. Yeah, but lemaisa, it's not going to cause you so much distress. It's frustrating and it's irritating, but it's not. Yeah.
What about for kids?
It's not tsar. It's not.
What about for kids? Often, they just have random bits of nail hanging off and they scratch themselves.
They talk about, for an example, an isha who's got to cut her nails before the mikveh, that you can get a non-Jewish person to trim. That I think will come out a little bit more later on. What is causing the kid distress or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I guess you'd apply these sort of things, and maybe to get a non-Jewish person if you can to do it, or I'm not sure. Okay, let's carry on. Lamed base.
Recording stop. Recording in progress.
Okay, Lamed base. Hacheshesh b'shinov. So this is very interesting. Someone has got a toothache. Lo yigma bohem chometz v'yifloit. So the person may want to take some salt water or some vinegar or something and gargle with it, throw it around their mouth, and then spit it out. You can't do that on Shabbos because that is a refuah on Shabbos. But if you're normally drinking some, let's say you've got some salad dressing or some vinegar, and you want to swallow it, that would be okay because that's Michael Brim. Some people eat these things. For example, you've got a dip, and you dip some vegetables or something into a thing, and you want to do that, and you take some cucumber or whatever and dip it into a vinegary type of dressing, and that soothes your toothache. that's Michael Briam, that would be okay. It's the same as we've spoken before. If you've got a bit of a sore throat and you want to have some chicken soup or you want to have a whiskey, that's okay because that's Michael Briam, so long as you don't publicize the fact that you're doing it for that purpose. So Matabal Kadarka, that would be okay. Hacheshish Begroina, you got a sore throat, Lo Ya'arenu B'Shemen, don't pour oil, you got some olive oil or something, to pour that onto your throat or drink a bit of that. Avul Belehu Shemen V'Nisrape Nisrape. If you want to have a bit of oil, then that would be okay. I remember once I was on a Pesach program, and there was various shiurim, whatever, and talks. And one of the talks, there was a guy who, the last day, he gave a talk. He was a cardiologist, and he was saying how healthy it is to have olive oil. And there's like a salad table, and the next day people were like throwing oil onto the salads. So people do it. Yeah, so in Nisrapa, so you have a bit of oil. From Nisrapa, that's Michael Briam. Lamed Beis Hachishish B'Shinov, says the Mishnah Berurah Kuf. Now, you can't tell to a non-Jewish person to do anything for refuah because we're category 4 or 5 over here. So we're not category 3. So we're category 5. You can't tell them to do things for refuah. Even to drabonan, so category 5. We're category 5 over here. So you can't tell a non-Jewish person to do anything here because category 5 is so minor that it's you've got a bit of a sore throat, a bit of a headache. You can't even tell a non-Jewish person to do anything. This is a good chazara. But if the toothache is much more significant, you're in a lot of pain, and your whole body is weak because of it, that's category 3. That's what we spoke about. If you're so weak with your toothache or your temperature that you feel your whole body feels weak, or you feel that you need to go to bed, then you can get the non-Jewish person to do even a deraisa, like we discussed, put the kettle on, go to the pharmacy to pick up some medication or whatever. Lo yigma, so you can't swallow vinegar if it's michush ba'alma, because you can either, so we'll see soon, very interesting, you could, for category 3, you can either tell the non-Jewish person to do a deraisa, or yourself b'shinui. Now we'll see a very interesting diuk in a minute, because we didn't discuss this, and I've held off from this. Which is better? Is it better to get the guy to do a deraisa in category 3, your nechlash kol gufay, or for you to do a drabonon b'shinui? We'll hold off. Yeah, you'll see. We'll come back in a few minutes. That's a very interesting deal. We'll see in a sec. Lo yigma. So you can't swallow some vinegar to ease your very mild toothache, category 5 toothache, because that's evident you're doing it in the Shum Refuah. Even to sort of keep it in your mouth for longer than normal, and then to sort of, and then to swallow it, that's also not allowed. You've got to just do it normally, just how people ever would drink this stuff. Bohem chometz, v'uadin yain straf, or liquor or some hard drink. Gam kein dinner kechometz, ach b'makom tzar gadol efshel lismech b'yain straf, the mutal ha'shoyis b'piv. It could be that you want to swish around your whiskey in your mouth, and that soothes the toothache. Okay, that would be allowed. Oid kol, if he's got a very, if it does hurt you a lot. V'oid kosov duadin dos litin al Hashem neglech or spritus. I don't exactly know what these things are. Superin boisem. Yeah, but some sort of subin chamin, because it's plants and things like that. It's clear you're doing it the shum refuah. Unless it's very clear that it's mitzvah kol gufa, that would be different. That category 3, the Yisrael can do it alidei shinui drabonan. If it's not possible with a shinui, then it's mutzah below shinui. Now, lo yarenu pirush sheyashe hashemen befiv. You keep the oil in your mouth. And even if you swallow it in the end, the mukh milsa the refuah, you're clear that you're doing it l'shum refuah. Kol shkein if you spit it out, yesh matirim. When you swallow it in the end, okay, like we said before, b'shemen afilu im noisen shemen atoich an nigrain who may silka also. Even if you sort of dilute it and you add the shemen to something else, still not allowed. Boleh shemen, you just swallow the oil. Some don't even allow that. It all depends on the time and the place, what the minhag is. The people eat these things. Also, so it depends what Michael Brim is. Do people have vinegar salad dressings or not, or these sort of things? If they do, then it's Michael Brim, and you can do it, no problem. Okay, let's carry on because this ha'ara is coming up soon. Lamed Gimel, Geineach. Now, Ganeach means he's got some sort of heart condition. So he's feeling weak. Rashi, the Mishnah says, Michav Liboy. So he's got some sort of heart problem. Ganeach mutalina kechelev mebehema. Now, the remedy for it is to have milk directly from an animal, to suckle from the animal. So even though that's normally not allowed, you're not to milk an animal on Shabbos. However, if a person has got this condition, he's allowed to suckle directly from the animal on Shabbos because if he's just hungry but it's not medical, then also says the Mishnah Berurah. The animal milk is a bit warm, and therefore you could do it directly from the animal, and apparently that's what Chazal say, that would help this particular element. Even though this is an unusual way of feeding from the animal, Chalivas habehema hu midaraisa. Sorry, the after ikka chalivas habehema hu midaraisa. Even though normally milking the animal isn't issa daraisa mishum mefarek, she'll tolda the dosh, you're separating the milk from the animal itself, and that's an issa daraisa of dosh, which is mefarek, which is hold of dosh. Or kamish k'zav the bereish siman shin chav. Mikol makom bezehu alidei yinika v'arak kilachayad. You're suckling directly from the animal. That's an unusual way of doing it. Lavirak issa midrabanan v'tir bezen. If you've got this ailment, therefore makom tsar makom chayli legoz rabanan. Even though normally we say better to tell the non-Jewish person to do it, because here he can do it directly himself. Take a look at 101. If the thing wasn't in this way, better to tell the non-Jewish person to do it. So you see, the Minchas Yitzchok is medayik from this Mishnah Berurah. Our question: Here, the whole point is that this is the way you've got to do it. The refuah is to do it directly from the animal. So therefore, he has to do this. But ordinarily, therefore, this says Minchas Yitzchok, if you have a choice of getting a non-Jewish person to do a deraisa for you in a category 3 type of illness, or for you to do a drabonon b'shinui, better to get the guy to do a deraisa than you to do a drabonon b'shinui. That's a very interesting deal because the Minchas Yitzchok. Yeah, because the normal way of milking the animal is just use your hands, whatever. But here you're suckling directly, and here you got no choice because that is the refuah. That's the point. Okay, interesting deal. V'yeshayim kufches she'im hayloshin yeshayim in medugduk demashma de l'svara. Rishayna mutzah b'Shabbos afilu mitzar v'ra'av, even if the kid is in distress and hungry. V'emes leis kirudov zeklal v'efshad zeditu afilu b'yontov also b'zeh at a din b'fnei atzmeihu t'yesh poiskim shemachalkim in Shabbos liyontov v'inin sav v'ra'av v'chos v'bach v'lirabba ta'aloch kayesh emer. Okay, also linoik the davka mishum tzah choyli tira v'loi b'zeh. So you're only allowed to, if you've got this heart condition, you're allowed to suckle directly from this animal. To al kolponim b'fari klachiyad b'Shabbos av v'yontov muta mein lo en Yehudi lachlev al yodei be muta v'im yesh lemachal lachlev by also linik b'fiv gam b'yontov. If there's another way of doing it, el yachlev l'teicha meichel, you can do it into the thing k'mei shekotzav siman tov kuf hey. Now let's just do one more because this is relevant to a feeding mother, right? To celebrate the simcha, right? So look what it says. Lo yisei isha. A woman is not allowed to express milk into a bottle or into a bowl or something like that to feed her child. She must feed directly. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Mishnah Mefarik, because for her to express into a bottle or of some sort, there's violating the Issa Mefarik. Rather, she should just feed the child directly. And now, if you look at 102, what if the child can't suckle yet directly from the mother? And you need to feed the child every day. She needs to express because she's going to make sure that she continues to produce milk. This is natural food for the child. Better to have the natural milk from the mother than to have some substitute. Now, a woman who needs to express milk. She just, and the child is not willing or able to or ready to feed right now, and she just is in a lot of pain. So she's allowed to express the milk, even though it's not for the child. And the way she should do it is either just express onto the floor where it goes li'ibut, or to express into a bottle, but put some salt or some vinegar in the bottom of the bottle, and that way it's like hoilech li'ibud, and therefore it takes away the de'araisa and reduces it to a drabonon, and therefore b'makom tzar lo gozu be'rabonon. Lamate is tiny. Let's just finish this. The end of this sugya. A woman is allowed to sort of spray a bit of the milk directly from her breast onto the child to encourage the child to eat, so that he would sort of latch on hadad v'yonik and therefore suckle from the mother. But you can't do it to get rid of rach the less be sakana, because there's no sakana for that. Says in the Mishnah Berurah, l'toich piv she can express and just sort of flash a bit of water, milk, onto the child's mouth just to encourage him to do it, but not just to ward away rach ra. The tsar yiser nami lekasham. There's not even tsar there. Halav hachishari de malacha she'enes richa gufa. Okay, beseda.